Aloha and happy 4th of July, everyone. I'm really excited because today I'm going to follow a tradition that I've been doing over the last several years and talking about VA loans here in Hawaii. And today we're going to be covering three categories of assumable VA loans, BAH rates in Hawaii, and third, we're going to cover VA loan data over the past year. And if you stick around to the very end, I'm really excited because I want to show you a perspective of what it's like to live here in Hawaii. So if you're going to be PCSing here, you could get an idea of what island life is here and one of the fun and cool things to do on the 4th of July. So let's dive into it. So first off, VA assumable loans. Well, VA assumable loans have become kind of like the buzzword or a hot topic in our marketplace. I've been picking up more and more on this as we get buyer inquiries asking about them. And what that is if there's a veteran that currently occupies their home and they've locked in a low interest rate from several years ago, during that time when interest rates are really low, and they're looking to get out because what happens when our veterans PCS is they can't just decide, well, I might just want to stay here. They get orders and they have to go. Well, some of the neighborhoods where those homes in have corrected a little bit since they bought, and this is an incentive to make their home stand out among the competition. So what's been happening over the last, oh gosh, 6 months to a year, where we're seeing more and more of these home sellers offering VA assumable loans. And we've been getting more and more buyer requests for this. So what we're trying to do is match this database in a sense of VA sellers with VA buyers, but they don't want to pay today's market rates. So I dove into this, oh gosh, several weeks back and looked at the data, and there's a lot more than I thought. I had alerts set up for certain clients, but I didn't look at how extensive it was. There's several hundred listings currently in MLS with assumable VA loans, and some could be well under 3%. So I'll put a link to that in here. I broke them out separately for homes and condos, and I'll also put a link above if you want to check that out. So that's assumable VA loans. That's our first topic. The second topic is BAH rates in Hawaii. I've been preaching about this for many years, and Hawaii has some of the highest, if not the highest, BAH rates in the country. So if you are a veteran, it's one of the best ways to build wealth and build equity is to use your housing allowance instead of living on base. You can buy a house and have your income and your BAH pay for that house. And we're talking about VA loans today. So obviously one of the beauties about VA loans outside of us, them being assumable, we could get a lower rate, but even at market rates today, our veterans have much better access to better rates than, say conventional financing. And on top of that, you could do 100% financing, which, most of the population, the civilians out there do not have access to that great opportunity. And it's very well deserved for serving our country. You can't do enough to pay our veterans back for the service that they've done for our country. So with that said, I'm going to start diving into some of the data. I've been doing this over the last several years, talking about the VA loans in Hawaii since 2020, high value VA loans, which is basically north of $1 million. And then the third category we're going to talk about within that data is which neighborhoods or regions on the island are we seeing the most VA loans take place. So first off, the reason I go back in this data to the year 2020 is because for those of you that don't know, President Trump, when he's in his first term, signed into law basically removing the ceiling or cap for VA loans in Hawaii. There was always a cap, and it slowly went up over time. It was around that 600 to 700,000 range where veterans could borrow at 100% financing. But after that, they had to come up with a balance in equity or cash or what have you. So Trump removed that altogether. So, if there's a veteran out there that's, whether they're active duty or retired, and they have some type of substantial down payment, or they'd be limited to those with a substantial down payment. Now, if you're a high income earner, you can qualify for VA loans, north of $1 million. Like we've done deals like well into the mid 1 million to 2 million range with 100% financing, as long as the buyer qualifies or borrower qualifies. So that's really exciting. So that's why we take this data back to the year 2020. And we're running them by quarters. And if you hang with me here, we're going to first break out the overall VA loans on Oahu, going back historically and through the past year, and then high value, like I mentioned, and then we'll get into the regions. Okay, like I mentioned, the first chart we're going to throw up here has to do with the overall VA home and condo sales on Oahu. And like I mentioned, we take it back to the first quarter of 2020. And as you start on the left-hand side of that, you'll see early on that these are the COVID days where there's far more VA home loans on Oahu than condo loans. The homes being the blue, the condos being the red. And what happened is once the market started picking up, people got priced out of homes, and you'll see like that trend of the red line being higher than the blue going forward. It's basically we're having a lot more condo sales than homes just because of affordability. And as you move to the right side of the graph, which is going to cover that last year in the last 4 quarters, you'll see the second quarter of 25 at the far right. Well, we actually had less condo sales than the year prior, but home sales are picking up. And probably that reason why is that the condo market here on Oahu has been a little bit tough. There's been a lot of special assessments, especially let's see that first quarter drop off. Excuse me. Yeah, in condos and homes from a year ago. So on the condo front, what's happening is a trifecta of hits where HOAs are getting hit with higher insurance premiums. I'll put a link to that, and I did a whole nother video on this talking about what's going on with insurance in condos here on Oahu. Also in high-rise buildings that are older, before fire sprinklers were put in, that might be mandated. I'll put a link to that as well. And the third thing is some of them have to do with old plumbing in the buildings or old windows, etc. So keep that in mind if you're buying in an older building. I'm not scaring people away from them. There's a lot of incredible buildings that are older here, and I always say the best stuff was taken first. So sometimes, even if it's an older building, it could be in a great location. But getting ahead of myself, but we're going to jump in. We'll come back to this because when we talk about the regions on Oahu, we'll talk about that when we talk about the regions and newer construction in the third segment of this. But now let's dive into the second segment, which has to do with high value VA loans on Oahu. Now, on the second chart, we're covering homes and condos that have closed on Oahu north of $1 million. And here you can see by far there's way more single family home sales north of $1 million with the VA loan versus the condos. And that has actually increased if you look at that last quarter with the homes. But the condos over $1 million, you can't see the raw data there. But when I was putting this together over the last year, all those little red dots on there, we're only averaging about 4 or so a quarter. So that's a little more than one a month of VA loan north of $1 million. So don't be scared if you're a buyer and you want to be in a condo and you're going to borrow, $1 million. It's just that there's, not as many people buying condos with their VA loans as they are homes. So the third chart I'm going to throw up here, or category I'm going to talk about, is MLS regions on Oahu. This is something I have not done over the last several years, and I thought it's some fun data points to look at because a lot of this I had intuitively, but I never actually did the research on. So as we pull that chart up, this is going to be based on the 12 MLS regions within the Honolulu Board of Realtors. So, I've broken out, if you want to check out my website, I have a category for military, and I say, quote unquote, popular neighborhoods for military. And this is why. Even though I never put this data together, I just have been selling real estate here long enough that why I knew where a lot of our veterans were buying. And so you'll see in this chart, by far the highest area of the Oahu is going to be the Ewa Plain. There's north of 400 transactions over the past year. There are only like 1,100 in total. And then the next would be Metro Honolulu. But if we were to simply put product up here, Metro Honolulu would have way more product than any other region on the island. So, but in any event, that's basically taking you from, say, inland of Hickam Air Force Base or the airport, and then heading out east to almost to Diamond Head to like University in Waikiki. That's going to be Metro Honolulu. And then Central Oahu, that, on the bar graph here, that's going to be the middle of the island and the main, a lot of veterans tend to migrate or get attracted to Central Oahu because it's close to Schofield Barracks. And so in Central Oahu, you've got, older neighborhoods like Wahiawa, but then you've got newer neighborhoods like Mililani and Mililani Mauka. And then not too far from there, jumping over the right side of this chart here, Waipahu. Within Waipahu, there's another newer section of housing going up called Koa Ridge. So that's another area. Pearl City, obviously, Pearl Harbor. So there's a lot of veterans that are buying in Pearl City. So that's where most of these VA loans are taking place. Like probably the least amount, I think in Diamond Head there are only like 14 or something like that in the Diamond Head region, which is a huge chunk of single family homes here on Oahu that runs, say, basically from Diamond Head out towards Hawaii Kai, and Hawaii Kai is its own separate region, which you'll see here. And then the North Shore was by far the least, with only 11 VA loans over the past year. That's like 0.1%. Because like I said, there's over 1,100, with 11 deal. Yeah, it's very anemic, or it's maybe 1%. And then another area, couple sections I want to point out, Leeward Coast is going to be the most affordable real estate on the island. So you'll see there's a fair amount there. And Kailua, Kaneohe, Kaneohe, obviously with Kaneohe Marine Corps Base, our veterans are flocking there as well. So this is just something I thought would be fun to start tracking over time. So now you can see where most of the VA loans are taking place on Oahu. So that's the third major category we're covering, which is data. And the next thing I love to do is this is the first time I'm actually doing this report on the 4th of July, and I had the pleasure of walking down to Waikiki this morning. It was beautiful. There were rainbows out. It was a gorgeous day, and then I had the opportunity to see my sister-in-law. She sang the national anthem, which I'll throw up here. Prior to the Walter J. MacFarlane canoe race, which is a tradition that's been going on in Waikiki for many, many years. If you're PCSing to Hawaii and looking for an athletic sport to get into or something to socialize, Outrigger canoe paddling is a super fun sport. It's a great way to meet people. You get out in the ocean, and something that I grew up doing. But in this particular regatta, every year they host a veterans category shortly after the national anthem, and they have all major branches of the military here. And what's fun about this race is not do they just get to go in a canoe, but they get to go in and out through the surf in Waikiki. So yeah, I'll throw that up here to take a look up as well. But yeah, that's just a little taster sliver of lifestyle here in Hawaii.
Oh, there you go. He's catching the wave. There you go. He's on the wave.
Who's in seven? Oh, wait, I know the answer to that. Air Force, Honolulu Pearl.
Oh, there's four.
That's the Navy.
So to find out more about VA loans in Hawaii, just complete disclosure here, I am a real estate broker. I am not a lender here on Oahu. I help people buy and sell homes. I've got great relationships with lenders. Some of you might already have lenders, but it's always best to have someone that's boots on the ground here. So when it comes to the point, if you're looking to, buy a home here, if you're PCSing, I'd love to help. Also, if you're a veteran and you're thinking of a creative way to get your place sold, an assumable VA loan might be an option to consider. I've got some other tools in the shed that not everyone is aware of we could talk about as well. So if you have any real estate questions here on Oahu, my name is David Buck. I've been in the business for 24 years now, and I can be reached at 808-371-3509. Aloha.